Hello everyone, welcome to AS Online. So in this video, we will see about the appointment of the election commissioners and chief election commissioners. You must be aware that today the new election commissioner, chief election commissioner was appointed by the government. His name is Gyanesh Kumar. So the context of this video, why we are discussing is that the context is very direct. That is today new chief election commissioner was appointed, that is Gyanesh Kumar. He was actually a already election commissioner. He is a part of election commission. He is one of the election commissioners already. Now he is being appointed as a chief election commissioner. That is the context, right? Now, before going into the video, I want to tell you few things that are important, relevant, why we are discussing this video. So the chief election commissioners or election commissioners, the process of their appointment was recently changed. Recently means 2023. The new act was passed and this is the instant, the Gyanesh Kumar appointment was the first instant where the new process was followed by the government. Earlier, before 2023, there was a different procedure in appointing the election commissioner and chief election commissioners. Now, this is the first time the new process has come into the picture. That's why this become more relevant for the exams, right? So what I meant to say is that there is a change in the appointment procedure of the election commissioners and chief election commissioners. That's why we are discussing this video, right? Before seeing what changes that's been taken place, we need to know about the constitutional status of the election commission, right? So first, who are actually election commissioners? Article 324 has given the powers to the election commission to conduct the elections in India. We have a different elections in India. So for that purpose to conduct the elections, the election commission was, provised under the constitution, Article 324. So under Article 324, the constitution has given powers to the election commission to conduct elections for 4 or 5 things, that is parliament, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, then state legislatures as well as legislative councils, then office of the president and then vice president. So elections to all these organizations will be handled by the election commission. This is what Article 324 has said, right? Now, not only that, the election commission shall have chief election commissioner and other election commissioners appointed by the president. So what this article is saying, it has given election commission to conduct the elections, the power has given, but the organization has to be run by some members, isn't it? Any institution, any organization has to be run by some members. So those members were also provided under Article 324. What they said, there should be chief election commissioner if there is only one member appointed. If there are more than one, like 2 or 3 members been appointed as election commissioner, then chief election commissioner will be chairman of the election commission, right? If there is only one member, he will be the chief election commissioner. If there are more than 1 or 2 members, then there will be a chief election commissioner who will be the chairman of the election commission. And those persons will be appointed by the president. So this is a very important point. These election commissioners as well as chief election commissioners are appointed by the president and the term is fixed. So time to time the president will appoint, right? So this is also given under the Article 324, right? And this appointment will be made by the president, right? And then these members who are appointed by the president will have equal status of the judge of the Supreme Court. That means these election commissioners as well as the chief election commissioner are equal to the judge of Supreme Court in their status, in the constitutional ranking. That means their allowance, salaries, removal, everything is equal to the judge of Supreme Court, which is a very higher rank, right? Top 5 ranks, one of the top constitutional 5 ranks, we have a judge of Supreme Court, right? So this election commissioner status is equal to the judge of the Supreme Court. That also given by the constitution, right? And in case of any difference between the 3 members, there is a chief election commissioner and there are also other election commissioners, but they are not unequal. Even though we have a chief election commissioner, he is not superior to the other 2 election commissioners. They are equal in ranking. Only in case of just a post to manage the affairs day to day without dispute, there is a chief election commissioner. But if there is any dispute among the 3 members, the decision of chief election commissioner is not final. It is based on the voting of those 3 members. Let's say chief election commissioner has said something to S and these other 2 people have said no. Then no will be prevailed because it is not the chief election commissioner, rather the voting among the 3 is the one who will take the decision based on the voting, right? So this is also provided under the constitution. And the tenure, that means what is the retirement age? Basically tenure, how much time he or she will work as an election commissioner. This is also mentioned in the constitution, that is up to 6 years from the date of the appointment or up to age of 65, whichever is early. Let's say he was appointed at 62 age of 62 and he has 6 years tenure, so he can work until 68, but no, it is limited that he or she can be work only until 65 years age. So 6 years or 65 years, whichever is earlier. Let's say he or she was appointed 59 or 58 years age. He cannot or she cannot work until 65 because 6 years is earlier. So until 64 only he or she has to work and has to be retired, right? Whichever is earlier they achieve. So up to that they can work. This is also condition given. And the removal, if they want to be removed, then the removal procedure is also same as Supreme Court judges. That means special majority of the both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has to pass the bill with a special majority and approved by the president as well. So it is very difficult to remove Supreme Court judges because special majority includes both government as well as the opposition. 2/3 of the members present and voting. Present and voting. 2/3 of the total members of the house present and voting, plus half of the total members. So these 2 has to be followed to remove the judge. So such a high power is given to the judges and same power is given to the election commissioner also. It is not easy to remove them, right? Now, what is the case now? We have seen the status of election commission which the power has given, and then election commissioner, chief election commissioner, their tenure, right, their appointment procedure made by the president, right? Now, what is the case now? Why there is a procedure change? Article 324 clearly said the appointment of election commissioners or chief election commissioners has to be done by the president. President has to appoint them. That's fine. It said president has to appoint election commissioner or chief election commissioner. But the president has to follow the act of the parliament. Act of the parliament. Are you getting the point? So it not only said that president will appoint, but the president, he or she, has to follow the act of the parliament, right? Now, let's come back to brief important thing. There are 3 organs of government. One is executive, other one is legislature, and the third one is courts. So these are the 3 organs of the government. Now come back to this article 324. What it said? President has to appoint the chief election commissioners or election commissioners by following the act of the parliament. That means legislature was given duty to assist the president. This is the core part of this article. But what was the earlier procedure in appointing the election commissioner? The earlier procedure was that executive means those who are implementing the laws of the legislature. So executive, that is prime minister, was recommending the president. The article constitution said that legislature has to be assisting the president. The process law should be there. But there was no law earlier. It was only the prime minister who is recommending the president to appoint some member. So it is completely handled by the executive. right? So this is again as the constitutional provision. Constitution is saying that the parliament should pass the law and president has to follow that. But there is no law and only prime minister is appointing. So this is a violation of the constitution. That's why there were a lot of petitions filed in 2015, 16, 21, 22 in the Supreme Court. They clearly said that the petitions has filed that the present appointment procedure of election commissioner and chief election commissioner is not adhering to the constitution article 324 subclass 2. They are not following it. This is what they reached to the Supreme Court. So this was the situation that they are not following. Now what the court has said, we have discussed the earlier procedure, all these things. Now what the Supreme Court has said, Supreme Court has clearly said that you are not following the constitutional procedure, whichever is mentioned under Article 324. So that's why it has said that executive should not do this duty. There should be a law, parliament law, some legislature, you should pass a law according to 324 subclass 2. Then you appoint them. Then you can recommend. There should be a procedure mentioned under the act. Then you can recommend. This is what the Supreme Court said. And along with that, Supreme Court also suggests one more thing. It is not mandatory but suggested that the law, parliament law, which you are going to pass after the judgment of Supreme Court, whatever you are going to pass the law, take this into consideration. That is a committee with the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition of Lok Sabha and also Chief Justice of India. The Prime Minister is part of ruling party and Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha is a opposition party and Chief Justice is a neutral person, constitutional authority. So that's why the election commissioner who are going to be appointed will be acting as a neutral, because ruling party, opposition and also one more neutral person. So this is what the Supreme Court has suggested. But they have said one more thing, that we are suggesting, but whatever you pass the law, whatever the procedure you will keep in the law, that will be the final. It is not our judgment, it is just a recommendation. So in future, whatever law you pass, based on that, the appointment procedure can be taken place, right? So they have suggested to include Chief Justice of India, but it was not mandatory. Fine. So what the Parliament has done, Parliament has come up with the act, because it is mandatory. Supreme Court has said that you have to include Parliament law, then only President can appoint. So that's why the Parliament has brought the act, that is Chief Election Commissioners and other election commissioners, appointment, conditions of service and term of office, Act 2023. This act was passed by the Parliament and it mentioned clearly that the Chief Election Commissioner, election commissioners will be appointed by a committee with the 3 members, that is Prime Minister, Supreme Court has said this, okay, Leader of Opposition, this is also okay, and Cabinet Minister nominated by the Prime Minister. So Chief Justice was not included here. So what the Parliament Act made, the Cabinet Minister nominated by Prime Minister. So what will be indirectly, that is government only, the ruling party only. Cabinet Minister is part of the ruling party. So again, there is 2 members from the ruling party and 1 member from the opposition. So here 2 members will obviously prevail it. So they have changed the suggestion, that is Chief Justice of India was not included, right? So these 3 members will recommend from the set of names suggested by the Ministry of Law, right? So this is the new procedure, right? So to summarize up, earlier President was appointing the Chief Election Commissioners and Election Commissioners based on the recommendation of the Prime Minister, just Prime Minister. But now there was an act, the Parliament has passed the act, and within this act there was a committee headed by Prime Minister, which also consists of Leader of Opposition from Lok Sabha and the Cabinet Minister nominated by the Prime Minister, right? These 3 members will recommend from the 5 names given by the Law Ministry. So this is the new process, right? Now they are following the act of the Parliament, right? So this is about the new procedure in appointing the Chief Election Commissioners. Thank you.